everybody. Today is March 26th. March is over. And today we're doing security and nonsense for the news.
Quite a bit of security today. We'll start out with more malware. And this is a pretty specific kind of malware. But if you are a iOS developer,
my condolences.
This is one to watch out for. And if you're any kind of developer, you know that in the modern development world, especially when it comes to apps and websites and stuff like that, you have to trust a lot of libraries.
Oh, they're after my lucky keys.
And you shouldn't trust them. They're not trustworthy.
iOS developers targeted with new XcodeSpy macOS malware. There's a thing you can paste into the terminal, because that's always safe, right? Pasting commands in from the terminal, especially when you don't understand what they do, that'll search your projects for remnants of this kind of a thing. Basically, you use a library or a project that you downloaded. There's shellcode in the project, and if you used it, you basically got Trojanized. So I think they were looking to add malware to your app that you develop, basically, sort of surreptitiously.
Well, they also, the local machine gets a backdoor and a loader.
Nice.
Just to be safe. And every time you compile that project, it reinstalls itself.
Neat.
Nice. Line. You ever use Line?
Nope.
I don't know what Line is, but it's a messaging app, similar to all the ones that are becoming popular now. However, it has a little bit of an issue people aren't happy about.
Line app allowed Chinese firm to access personal data. In a press conference, the Japanese government announced that it was investigating the parent company behind the Line messaging app. A local newspaper reported that engineers at one of the app's Chinese contractors had access to messages and personal data of Line users. Now, there's aspects to the story that make it sound like a data breach, and there are other aspects that make it sound like it was just complying with Chinese requests.
I didn't get the idea it was a data breach. I think it was just
complying.
Happened, or not even about complying. It's just like, hey, we happen to tell the Chinese server about this.
Yeah.
Because it's part of our business model, probably. This one was a headline that I read, and I thought, nah, they're not going to go that far. That's crazy. But then you read it, and they're like, well, they're not doing what I thought they were going to do, but it's still scary.
Google's second-generation Nest Hub will watch you sleep. It's less creepy than it sounds.
I don't know about that, Ryan Whitman.
They're just looking for your sleep patterns. Like, it's a popular thing. It's like you wear your smartwatch, and it figures out your sleep patterns. It's like, there you go.
But it is, in fact, not a camera. This thing does not have a camera in it, or so they claim. At least not one they're advertising. It's, was it sonar or radar? Sonar, I think, right?
Yeah.
So you have a zone of sonar that this thing is able to observe, and if it's on your nightstand, I imagine the whole bed probably falls into that. And then it can use that to determine how you're breathing and whether you're rolling around and if the lights are on and if you're making noise and blah, blah,
blah. You wake up in the morning, you died last night. I had to bring
several
you back.
times.
Several. I'm imagining this is not accurate at all, but if it's like a bat and it's just making loud squeaking noises the entire time you're trying to sleep.
I think it is inaudible.
Like, the next morning it's like, oh, you didn't sleep very well. Can you tell us why? But the whole time it was just going, wee!
I watched the movie Greyhound. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's an Apple project, one of their first Apple Plus major motion pictures, but it's a war movie. It's about how they used to have to go across the Atlantic in World War II and the German Wolfpack submarines. So that's that, and Tom Hanks is the captain. He's the captain again.
Oh.
And they won an award for sound design, and it sounds stupid, but it works really well because it's like gray water, gray sky, gray foam, gray submarine, but they have to let you know that the submarine is doing something. So every time the submarines surface and the camera's on them, they make whale noises. And it's great. It's fantastic. The first couple times I was like, are those whale noises? And then later I was like, oh God, the submarines are back. So how to use sonar for effective storytelling. It's a lesson. But one thing that you should not do if you are a technician who's working on any of these magical new things is try and sell those secrets on the dark web, because the dark web is not as secret as you think it is.
SpaceX engineer has pled guilty to selling insider trading tips on the dark web for SpaceX. Some of them weren't even accurate. Doesn't matter.
I don't know if any of them were.
Somebody bought tips on the dark web, and that's not okay.
And this guy wasn't just looking to sell, he was also looking to buy insider trading information. He was looking to insider trade one way or the other. He's probably barred from doing it for SpaceX. So I think he was trying to trade SpaceX secrets for other insider tips. And apparently he was a big guy at SpaceX. Though they went through the patents, his name's on a lot of them.
Oops.
He's going to have a really good prison hustle, fixing like fans and CD players and stuff like that. If you guys recall the big Twitter hack in which Elon Musk encouraged people to, what was it, buy a certain kind of cryptocurrency or something like that, or a certain exchange.
I hope that McAfee uses that in his defense.
I think there might be a little bit more evidence for them to. I don't know though. You got to do something, right? So, and there was a big question of like, oh, how did they do it? How did they get in? It was pretty low tech, and it wasn't exactly the most talented hacker, but doesn't mean they're not going to be in trouble.
Teen mastermind behind the great Twitter hack sentenced to 3 years in prison, wherein he just asked the Twitter engineer, like, hey, I'll give you some money if you give me access. And they were like, okay, sounds good. What a hack.
Got into the administrative account. Now, they asked this person, I don't know if it's a he, actually. Did you see the name?
Nope.
They used their, which makes me think that, like, you just shouldn't mention gender. Like, it's too dangerous. Let's just say person. But when asked about why they did it, of course, the answer, to destroy capitalism. That's why you do those things. Do you think Twitter has the ability to destroy capitalism?
It definitely wasn't any rich person or politician's, son or progeny that was just doing it because they were bored, and so otherwise the prison sentence would have been much less.
Yeah, that's probably true. Verkada, that was the camera company last week.
We reported like Tesla and hospitals and a bunch of other companies use that company.
A lot of companies, and they were all embarrassed because their cameras got hacked all at once, and it did not take very long for the authorities to react to that.
No. The Swiss police have arrested the hacker in a hotel room, or no, his apartment. They've raided the apartment. So they found him.
Took all the technology out of the apartment. Is that one of your, I certainly have like dark thoughts about this. Like if that ever happens to you, what do you do that week? Do you run out and buy more technology?
Oh, like if someone just came in and stole like all your computers and stuff?
I mean, stole is the right word, but they would do it lawfully because they can get a warrant to take every piece of technology out of your house.
I don't know. It was just...
Do you go to Walmart and buy one of those EVU laptops?
Probably.
Just
to get by.
Yeah.
Remember the time that you had to use that pink iPhone because you broke your phone and you couldn't live without it?
If I recall, I feel like you would just have like a buried laptop somewhere in your yard, like the one that they don't know about.
That's a good idea.
If I recall correctly, you lasted less than 24 hours of iPhone use.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad.
Well, that is not the only person who was leaking stuff and making trouble for the big tech companies by knowing too much and sharing that knowledge.
Apple sues former MacBook product design employee for allegedly leaking to the press. Apparently, he was leaking memos and stuff from internal meetings. They finally figured it out, and they took him down.
The thing I think that really killed him here is that he resigned, but it was one of those situations where he was just like finishing out his 2 weeks. And they're like, all right, don't go to any more meetings because, you're not in the circle of trust anymore. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he went to all the meetings.
Pro criminal tip.
And over in China, now our tech companies are certainly losing their mind over this, but I imagine the Chinese companies are losing their mind a little bit more.
In a different way.
It's not just money that is at risk for them.
Tech giants in China are developing ways to bypass Apple's new privacy rules. Bad news. We have to be able to track people, otherwise we're not going to be able to sell our apps. And Apple doesn't want to let us. What do? It turns out that Apple's probably going to be asked to let them. And
if they refuse, I think China has the clout to say, all right, you're done.
Isn't this the article that said that Apple, even China doesn't have the clout to ban all the apps at once, so they'll just cherry pick like the best ones and then move on down the stack?
Yeah, and that's, it's a way to not burn the bridge, but singe it.
Yeah.
And, make them think like, oh, if we want the bridge to be here tomorrow, we better do what they say.
Yeah.
And they're good at that.
They really are. I mean, there's not really a lot of, as earlier, I don't think it was yesterday's program or maybe Mondays or Tuesdays, but when I said look at tech companies that will capitulate to like the local regulations, like Russia wants to be able to run certain applications, China wants to be able to whatever. It's all just lip service. If you want to do business in our country, you have to do this, and that country is worth, $5 billion or more in sales, they're gonna do it.
And if it was something really, really, really bad, and they knew, they were like, oh, the PR here is gonna kill us, and maybe we might be criminally liable, then they might shut down Russia, but they'll never shut down China.
Like the Russia thing, it's like, would you like to install these optional apps because they're Russia? It's like you unbox the thing in China, and it's like, are you a Uyghur Muslim? No. No.
Do you love Allah?
I mean, it's dark, but that's basically where we're going. I mean, technology is being used as a tool for this, and like collectively, humanity has to stand up and say, all right, then I guess we're not doing business in China. And like Tim Cook is never going to do that.
They're going to have a slider control, and it's going to be like, please move the darkness slider when you set up a game.
Yeah.
But it's going to be like, please move the slider to where you think is, the best. And it's going to be Allah on one side and Jinping on the other.
I think, Family Guy did a version of that joke where like the Border Patrol agent holds up like the color card and he's like, okay, not okay. It's going to be like that, except it's your augmented reality camera on the iPhone. It's like, put your face in the box. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're in the not okay color range. You're going to be subjected to extra scrutiny.
But you can't tell somebody's religion from their color. You're going to have to interact with them in some way.
It's like, choose which image is most attractive, and they're like religious icons, and it's like, oh, I have to. It'll be something like that, which is dark.
One thing that we see a lot is how automated and how bad that automation is when it comes to copyright protection and things like that. Now, we have seen 2020, I think, not in the mainstream, but if you're actually paying attention, I think 2020 finally put to rest the argument about piracy, don't you?
Yeah.
Because we've learned that when things are disrupted not by piracy, but by something else, then the business is still fine. There is no truth to this idea of lost stuff. But the whole thing is just automated now. The robots are out there, and when they see anything that they think is bad, they attack it, which leads to hilariousness.
Adobe goes after a 27-year-old quote-unquote pirated copy of Acrobat Reader 1.0 for DOS. So somebody had a Twitter post that was like, hey, I found Twitter for DOS on the Internet Archive or whatever. And it was a retweet of a 5-year-old tweet. And they took down the retweet. The bots were like, no. But the original tweet from 5 years ago is still there.
I think they're still using that version in North Korea.
I mean, if you need Acrobat 1.0 for DOS, your entire existence must be so much misery and suffering that they should just give it to you.
Like, it's not a question of why you're using DOS. It's a question of, if you're using DOS, why do you need PDF reader?
Look at the graphic on this. It's beautiful.
Are you talking about the screenshot?
The old logo. Yeah, the old logo.
Yeah, they got
how
that's
it
like
was
the,
meant to be viewed.
It's like the Windows 1.0 icon.
Yeah.
It's registered to user company. I had a lot of software that was registered to user company, didn't you? I can't remember what the name. Remember the Canadian one? There are several companies that make these like super encrypted crime phones, and they market them as such.
That's the mistake.
The problem with all the super encrypted crime phones is that if the crime people know about them, guess who else knows about them? And it's really only a matter of time. In this case, the matter of time is, how long does it take for the FBI to get involved? That's how long you have.
Cracking of encrypted messaging service dealt major blow to organized crime. So the cracking of previously unbreakable encryption messaging thing that was popular with criminals involved drug trafficking and organized crime delivered a major victory to the justice system on Tuesday. So, thanks, Canada.
Sky ECC was this company. There was another company that did the exact same thing, and this exact same thing happened. And yet, when that happened, all the criminals just rotated to a new one. But I guess you do have to communicate, right?
Yeah.
What do you do in this situation?
You start leaving symbols all over the town.
But
Like the
this
Dark
is
Brotherhood.
this is likely more than one country involved. This is organized crime.
You have like a signal, like a bat signal, that goes up.
Wouldn't that kind of pinpoint your location for your
No.
criminal base?
No. You live van life, and then you travel around with this giant spotlight on top
A
of the
van life with a spotlight with enough power to run a bat signal. You can run it for 12 seconds.
There's no problems with this plan. It's flawless.
I was thinking more like in Breaking Bad, where you've got cover businesses like, the day spa or whatever.
Yeah, but this is not laundering money. This is communicating with other criminal organizations.
I'm pretty sure that I saw the mafia in those movies go into the Italian pizzeria as like their thing for communication and order distribution.
Yeah, but the surveillance is really good.
Yeah,
Is there a light bulb in that room? Microsoft bought GitHub. And a lot of people said, this is bad because Microsoft is never going to be able to separate their business interests from GitHub's, sharing sort of open way of doing things. And Microsoft said, you're crazy. We would never, ever, ever do that. This is a terrible web design. Krista, this web design is awful.
It is awful, and it's very orange.
Like, where is the headline? It's up here above the stupid newsletter sign up.
Inside Dev, GitHub removed a proof of concept exploit for Exchange. So if you're just now hearing about the on-premise Microsoft Exchange security vulnerability, where have you been? Have you been in a coma? I've got some bad news. Your stuff is already compromised. It's time to just format and reinstall. There was a proof of concept on GitHub, and then Microsoft took it down. And then they put it back, and then they took it down, then they put it back again.
But the important thing to point out here is this was after the patch. So presumably, this guy was like, oh, it's been patched. Now we can research it. No.
There's still like 100,000 Exchange servers out there that have got problems.
But how long do you wait to study this?
In this case, if the exploit was in the wild, you're already compromised. Like somebody should have taken the proof of concept exploit to make something that would prevent the system from being exploited to protect those idiot administrators from themselves.
And yet that's being slowed down.
Yeah.
Because people that didn't update are at risk. There is a least amount of damage somewhere in the middle there, I guess. I don't know what it is.
Knee-jerk Microsoft reactions. It's not good.
I'm looking at the source code on this website because I was like, surely there's something that's missing here or is malformatted. It's all bad, though. It's using Bootstrap, but like... they've done horrible, weird things.
I thought you were talking about the source code of the exploit. I was like, I didn't see that.
No, I'm looking at the source code of Inside Dev. Because I was like, surely that must just be something like a missing div that popped up, but it wasn't supposed to be there. But no, I think this is just poorly done.
Yeah, incredibly poorly done.
Weird.
Do you remember the Ethereum cats?
Yeah.
And that
they could breed them and then that kind of thing.
And for like a week, that was massive. Have you heard about the cats since then?
Nope.
Do you think this is another
yes.
example of
this
cat?
is another,
I think
learn from the lesson of Ethereum cats.
And there's a guy eating ice out of a lake, and I don't know what he has to do with anything about this.
New York City man has sold a fart for $85, cashing in on an NFT craze. That is a non-fungible token.
So this one in particular are recordings of his farts, although you don't actually get the recordings, right? You just get the hash proves.
Yeah, it proves that you own that entry on the blockchain, which, if decoded, turns back into the sound that was made of the thing.
So this is the guy. He recorded his farts for the entire, well, not the entire pandemic. I guess it's not over, but for 2020 since March. And compiled all those together, and there's bidding on it. And as of the publishing the story, I think it was worth like $85. Because
I just don't.
But people are paying really big money for these.
They are.
And
It kind of reminds me of like the Pokemon card craze, or
But you did get something physical with Pokemon
you
cards.
did, yeah. It's a weird world we're moving into.
I couldn't afford the really good Magic the Gathering cards, and I would take all the cards that I didn't want and sand them, and I made a little apparatus for my inkjet printer so that I could print the card that I wanted on the sanded card. And it didn't look like as good as the other card, but it was like in the deck and for shuffling purposes and stuff like that, you couldn't tell that it wasn't a real card.
Are
Your
you saying you
opponents could
cheated?
tell.
They could?
Yeah, they
Oh.
knew. They knew what you were up to. That's not allowed in tournament play.
Yeah, that's not allowed in tournament play. I thought they turned out pretty good. I couldn't tell.
There were, they did have proxy tournaments. You ever play one of those? Proxy tournament, you could just be like you just take a mana card and a marker and just like put a big X on it and write Black Lotus. And that was a proxy.
That's basically what I did, yeah.
So you could do that, but they didn't give big prizes for those tournaments.
Because they wanted you to buy the really expensive cards.
Yeah, exactly. Up on the space station, they are, you might say that they're a bit of clean freaks. It's real important to keep that place clean. And when they clean stuff, they're up there doing science. They got nothing else to do all day, right? Although I bet they're having sex. And they have discovered
It's frowned upon.
something amazing.
Microbes unknown to science have been discovered on the International Space Station. That's not really a big deal. I mean, you could just, swab a random thing and probably find microbes unknown to science. But they found 3 that were known to science in a HEPA air filter, and then another one that wasn't.
They believe this comes from their farming efforts up there.
Or it's the Andromeda strain, and we're all gonna die when they come back.
That is the only other option.
Only.
Krista, they're up there in the vacuum of space farming, and you don't even have your lettuce out.
I don't have my lettuce out yet. It's too cold here. I can't put them out yet.
Oh, I don't
They'll
want
freeze.
your excuses.
The radishes are doing great, though. I'm
What
gonna
year
have
was
to thin
this?
them.
Was this like the 2000s? Early 2000s?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember this when I was like in middle school.
And I bet these guys thought, wow, that was an interesting time in my life that I'll never have to relive. But no, literally both of them are back.
Intel puts the Apple's I'm a Mac guy into new ads praising PCs. I think that they should have got Joel Hodgman back. He was cooler.
Was that the other one?
Yeah.
But Microsoft has him, or Apple has him. They swapped. So Intel got this guy, and Apple got the other guy. But Apple only used him on the stage. They didn't put him in the commercial, but Intel's like, oh, we're doing another commercial. Why are they advertising right now?
Yeah,
That's the bigger question. Just to rub our faces in it?
to keep you engaged with the brand. Right.
I suppose. This, here's, well, I have a critical question about this project, but let's hear about it first.
Scientists want to send 335 million seed, sperm, and egg samples to the moon to create a lunar Noah's Ark.
Okay, so this is serious catastrophe. They pointed out that 75,000 years ago, we had that ice age. And that probably wiped out a big part of humanity. A lot of people believe that we were a much more diverse group before that. And it was just like, well, we're all gone.
We got confirmation that the Gulf of Mexico basically is one giant meteor crater. I mean, not really, but
So it's something real bad.
yeah.
Real bad. How do we get back to the moon after that?
Well, the society would have to rebuild itself to a point that we have lunar travel again.
And then
It would only take, thousands of years.
yeah, and that knowledge has to survive as well as whatever's on the moon.
I think this is a good idea. This is basically the strategy for the Great Pyramids. It's like the pyramids were complicated enough that, traveling marauders couldn't really deface it. And then when society advanced to a point, it's like we could deal with it again.
But when
But
we
they were
opened
on
up
the same planet, though. Like, you could access them readily.
and when we opened up that one amazing tomb that was like, oh, it's almost completely intact. There was sewage in it. There was sewage running through it. It's not untouched.
Yeah.
And there's going to be so many space worms eating these seeds. It's going to be crazy.
So much radiation damage. It's like, oh yeah, plants don't like radiation. I forgot. Solar radiation. Well, dangerous solar radiation.
Have we read the title?
Oh, did we not?
Did we? I immediately forgot.
Yeah. No, I read the title.
I thought Wendell did it.
I totally did.
Okay, yeah.
My brain just like turned off for that split second.
I've discovered when I look at a list of movies, I don't care about any of them. But if I just go to Google Play and watch some trailers, I can get caught up in a movie.
Mm.
And that's been working. So I'll watch a trailer and be like, I'll watch that. And I'll watch it. And I'm like, I don't regret this. And one I've never seen that's on my list is Avatar. Who knew?
It's not awful.
Did you like it?
Marvel congratulates Avatar on its return to the global box office #1 crown. We love you 3000. So all the comic book movies, you know, they were the global box office crown, and then Avatar was released in China as like a special edition, and now Avatar's back on top.
It didn't make a lot of money, but it was just at $7.8 million. That's all it had to make to take back the top spot. And it was released in China, so it made that money.
Well, it's the weird accounting, though, because it was $2.8 billion versus $2.79 billion.
Yeah, that's
the difference.
7.8 million.
That's the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they made more than that, but just not a whole lot. It was like 12 million, right, that they made over the weekend or something.
Yeah.
And that was enough to do it. It's a weird time for movies, for sure.
Avatar's okay. It's a movie. It's very visually stunning.
How do you stack it up to Avengers?
I'd say it's better than the Avengers.
Well, there you go.
But I'm not a Marvel fangirl, so.
Engagement challenge. I want an essay on which movie is better and why.
I'm sure someone will take you up on that.
Yeah.
Is that dog alive? Did you see that?
What? She just got up and walked away.
No, not your dog.
Oh.
There's no scrubber here.
I think we were watching an ad.
No, it was it said funeral director. It was Anyway. We've talked about this before, but they are finally kicking it off. I don't know that I care about this, but I definitely have that Frank Reynolds mentality of just throw me in the trash. I don't care. This would be fine with me.
Gonna change the world inside the first large-scale human composting facility. Return Home plans to open in April with 72 terramation vessels. Yeah, so you can turn into a tree or whatever.
So it's what? Let me see if I can find. If you could vamp for a moment, I think reading it, how it works, is worth doing. Oh, it's taking too long.
A body goes in a vessel along with a bulking agent like alfalfa, sawdust, or wood chips. Add water, air, and heat, and then after 30 days, the body, with the exception of bone and teeth, is reduced to dirt. A machine screens out the inorganic material like metal screws or silicon implants. Then the compost rests for another 30 days before the process is complete.
You ever do like a really long slow cook? Like a 12-hour slow cook?
Yeah, that's what this is.
And the meat just falls right off the bones?
Yeah.
That's what's happening here.
And this is just how composting works. I took my compost out to the big bin the other day, and when I dumped it, it was steaming.
Did you get like a moment where you thought to yourself, I should get in there?
No, I didn't feel the call of the void to get in the bin, but honestly, I wouldn't care when I was dead if someone wanted to compost me.
I can become a tree.
Yeah. Did it mention in the article? I don't think it did. You probably can't use this on like food, right?
I don't know if it's the same company, but we did a story about one of these companies before, and after a certain amount of time, you can come and you can bring a truck and just come and get the dirt.
Yeah.
Because it's just dirt at that point. After they fish out the teeth. I would want the teeth. Wouldn't you?
That would be a fun, exciting surprise for the next homeowner.
They don't let you keep your wisdom teeth when you like have dental work done. Would they let you keep the teeth if you composted someone?
I don't know, Chris. That's an excellent question. Maybe you should call them up, do some investigative reporting.
Hey, I just wonder. I want to make a necklace with my loved one's teeth, and I need to keep those. Can you guys fish those out for me?
Or like in the forest, where you take the teeth of
The
your
effigies.
enemies and you glue them to your club so it does slightly more damage.
Yeah. Oh, that sequel to that's supposed to come out this year. I don't know. They don't have a date yet, but 2021. That's like the only game I'm looking forward to.
Well, I hope they add human composting as a feature in that game.
That would be nice. That'd be a good way to use the bodies that you get.
Plus 20% crop growth.
Well, over in France, they are having a landmark court case, and I believe, is it not true that in maybe state by state, but like there's a sunset on if you go this long, that's an automatic divorce if you want it. I think it's 2 years, right?
Well, yeah, most places in the States now are no-fault divorce, where it's just like, you can cite irreconcilable differences, and that's always fine.
No, I think 2 years without is a fault. You can use that as a fault. Maybe not. Engagement challenge. But over in France, because obviously, we're in a new world in terms of gender and equality and all that stuff, big argument.
French court says that marital sex duty wife puts case to ECHR. This is just a terrible headline. There was no marital relations in this marriage, and who's at fault for the divorce is a thing. Apparently, it still matters.
Well, she wants probably to get paid, right?
Yeah, or split marital assets or whatever. And so, if that's true, then that would put the fault for the divorce with the woman, and so she would not be entitled to anything in the divorce.
Now,
Does this imply you can't say no, though, to your husband? Are they saying that marital rape is not a thing? Because that's kind of horrific.
They definitely bring that up, but I think it's more of a question of nobody's saying that she has to have sex with him. He's just saying that if you don't, then that's a good reason that we shouldn't be together anymore. And that's your choice, not mine.
It's the implication.
But here's a little bit of a twist. Let's see if this changes your mind about whether or not a woman should be, or anybody should be obligated. You could go both directions, I guess. She's 66. Is there an age where it's just like, look, the human body, that's no longer an imperative for me?
There's a non 0% chance that I could lose a hip.
So it'll be interesting to see how that one shakes out.
It seems strange. I'm surprised this came out of France. But
yeah, they are usually a little more liberal, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, like, is that the only reason that they're filing? Like, that's strange.
Well, no, it's not a matter of whether or not they should be divorced. It's a matter of who's at fault. That's what they're arguing about. So he says she's at fault because of that. I'm sure there's more to it.
Yeah.
There's more of a nuance.
The article is woefully lacking in detail.
I would say in 99.9% of divorces, it's not just one thing.
Yeah, that's implying that it is kind of strange, but
maybe this is the old 30-year itch.
yeah, they've probably been together for ages.
Would that be a slap in the face? Yeah. If the next day she was just all over Instagram, hanging off of some young man? Do you remember the chairman of the Tokyo Olympics committee?
Yes.
He made a little bit of a faux pas by saying that women talk too much. And it was a big scandal. So you would think that every other male on the Olympic committee would be like, oh, I should take extra care with my comments.
I should be on guard.
That's not what they did.
Tokyo 2020 official quits in quote-unquote Olympig jibe at female comedian. Creative director Hiroshi Sasaki had suggested that the popular plus-size celebrity Naomi Watanabe appear as a pig at the opening ceremony. Oh, that's not okay.
Yeah, that's just being an asshole. Like, it's not even anything that can be a little bit misconstrued. It's like, no, you're just being a jerk to be a jerk.
I got to bring up an issue with Reuters. They did not post a picture of her, but I did Google image it. Yeah, definitely not something you want to do. So he's out. You got. I think what we're seeing is wokeness creeping into the Isle of Japan, and these guys do not know how to handle it, as most of us don't. They don't know how to react to that, and it's. I'm sure it's terrifying for them.
Calling someone a pig in any sort of official capacity is kind of beyond the pale, though.
Really?
Yeah.
I literally do it every time I see a police car. And look at what we have here.
Oh no.
A pig.
ACLU libertarians oppose qualified immunity for cops who set man on fire to stop him from setting himself on fire. Yeah, qualified immunity probably shouldn't apply in this case.
That seems like a bit of a porcine move. So I will say that, you know, they're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't. Yeah. Because if I called you right now and I was like, hey, Wendell, I know you have a taser and I don't. And there's a man here coated in gasoline. And I don't know what to do about it. Could you come and help me? What would you do in that situation?
I would bring a fire extinguisher.
Well, they didn't have one of those in the car. Actually, they probably do.
They probably do.
Yeah, they probably do.
They probably have multiple kinds of fire extinguisher, to be clear.
And you do, I think if you're going to be a taser operator, you should be expected to understand the flammability. Yeah.
I was just thinking about it. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that their cruisers also have a petrol cleanup kit, which includes the little absorbent thingies and a blanket.
Probably. Well, they did manage to put him out, but he died days later after suffering burns in the hospital, which is probably one of the worst ways to go.
Yeah.
So, they want qualified immunity. I think I got to side with the victims here. Although, don't call the cops. My God, deal with it yourself, because it's only going to get worse when they get there, as illustrated here. Now, I've definitely experienced some annoyances in Zoom meetings. Echo is probably the number one thing, wouldn't you say? Mm. Somebody's echoing and no one can figure it out. All those government hearings about big tech, there's always a rough echo, and somebody has to get called out.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any of those problems, perhaps you can manufacture some.
New app allows you to escape Zoom meetings by playing unbearable sounds. This is amazing. So, we're having another meeting that's pointless.
Ringing phone, barking dog, crying baby, man weeping. But also, I think the most impressive ones are ones that sort of like simulate choppy connection. So it makes noises, and it's just like, you know, little blurps and chips. And they're like, oh, you're having a really bad connection. No, it's just your phone playing those noises. Pretty brilliant. Another one that I knew that Krista would just love.
This was bizarre.
Because it's so ridiculous. But at the same time, are we the ones... Should people be laughing at us? Because he got exactly what he wanted here. Exactly.
Elon Musk crowns himself Technoking of Tesla. CFO Zach Kirkhorn is now master of coin. There's a little more to it than that.
Is there?
No.
Why are we reading this headline? Why is The Verge telling us this headline?
This was probably like he probably hired a PR agency and they were like, we're going to do this, this, and this. And the ROI on that wasn't great. And he's like, look, I'm going to do something asinine on Twitter, and it's going to have a better return than what you guys, like what I paid a lot of money for. And if that's true, I'm not going to pay you. But if it's not true, I'll eat my words and it'll be fine. This was wildly successur and got more press coverage. He's not paying the PR firm.
I don't think he probably talks to PR people.
No.
Based on some of his
you're giving him way too much credit. He just desperately needs the spotlight to remain on him at all times. You know, he just became the second richest man in the world
because of Bezos.
Yeah, well, because Tesla stock.
Yeah.
So he's all of a sudden probably feeling really insecure. Am I still pretty? Do they still love me? Should I go on OnlyFans? Do you remember there was another version of this where it was just an older woman?
Yeah.
And it proves two things. First of all, the social media landscape in Japan is insane. And secondly, these filters are getting incredible. Now, I've carefully scrolled so we don't get to see it till after the headline.
Female motorcyclist in Japan goes viral for good looks. Turns out he's a 50-year-old uncle.
Are you ready for it?
It is actually legit insane.
That's crazy. Now, the big question here, that is his real hair, I believe. Mm-hmm. How much time per day?
Probably a while. But, you know, there are clues. Like, look at that build. Like, that's not... It's like,
under the racing jacket, you don't You can't quite tell.
There could be a lot of padding. Yeah.
No, there definitely is, and there's a lot of leather because the suit is designed for you to fall off a motorcycle and slide for some amount of time. Did you see how he got caught? The mirror. He posted a picture where the mirror was visible. That'll get you every time. But this was a huge account. Look at that. How crazy is that? I now
realize that's on like every image of any person you ever see. Like this is an extreme example, but like when people post selfies, it's not just a picture of them. It's like a picture of them that's been like airbrushed out of existence.
Look at the like the girly frilly stuff on the helmet. And the pink rims.
He can silence all of his criticism immediately by saying that he identifies as female.
No, he's already admitted that. I think that's Olympig. I think this is a screenshot from a variety show. I think that's her. But he has already admitted that the reason he did it was because he wanted people to look at his motorcycle pictures, but no one wanted to look at a 50-year-old man. And that was his explanation. It's like, it's obvious, right?
You know the VTuber thing where it's like the anime girls that get mapped onto like real people that are interacting? What we need to do is do a filter for us and like swap everything for the thing and just, do that one day and not tell anybody. It's really good.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I've seen that on Twitch. One of the people I follow who streams Overwatch, they have that, and they're like a cat person. And it's weird because it talks and like looks at the chat when they do.
I don't want the animated cat person. I want the Cats the musical, the movie.
Butthole edit or non-butthole
Nobody wants that. That makes people angry. Why is there a United States Air Force logo on this?
They're a sponsor.
Supporting a young lady starting to ride a motorcycle.
You think that would lead to a lot of recruiting dollars? The hairline's a little weird in this one, don't you think?
Yeah.
That could be a red flag.
The scalp definitely looks a lot older.
Yeah. That is not a 20-year-old girl. Amazing.
The Hatsune Miku of motorcycle racers.
Oh, this is what got him caught.
Yeah.
That's the picture. Internet sleuths tracked him down.
Thought Patrol.
Could I like we need to come up with something like this, but we like in the reflections and stuff like that, we put really subtle Easter eggs that slowly build up to like the reveal is that the person using the photo altering software actually looks like Skeletor.
Here it is. Are you ready for this? This is going to change everything, chat. Machine learning that recognizes reflective surfaces and changes what's on the reflective surface to make it a lizard person.
Oh.
Or like the scanners people that have like the
lizard people would, because like people would latch onto that. It would be like this. The internet sleuths would be like, "Oh my god,
they would lose
it's
their mind.
real."
It has a 0.07% chance of inserting Hillary Clinton somewhere in the background.
Well, these are not lizards. These are monkeys, but they're a lot like us in many ways. And this is one of those ways.
ChimpanZoom, primates at the Czech Zoo go wild for video calls. To make up for the lack of interaction because of the global situation, zoos up to 150 kilometers apart can now watch each other's daily lives on big screens.
So they pointed out that at first, as you might imagine, the monkeys were angry at the other monkeys. And they were like, puffing up their chests and walking up and like banging on it, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to fight." But after they realized that the other monkeys weren't reacting to them, they started behaving like we do with TV shows. They would go and get snacks. They would sit down and they would watch. When like something tense happened in the other enclosure, they would all like stand up and like get into it.
Get excited.
I would love to watch the monkeys watching other monkeys.
But would you pay for that? Because that might be a way to get funding to these zoos.
I don't know, maybe, but they do point out that they're thinking about taking this away when people come back, because the whole idea here is the monkeys weren't interacting with anybody. I think you should leave it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? What if you started having really good things happen to one set of monkeys, but not the other? Would they become unhappy?
What does monkey reality TV look like?
Literally just other monkeys.
I'm thinking like Big Brother, but but chimps.
They vote one off. They just take him
Yeah.
out and shoot him. Imagine if would the most watched television event of Monkey Zoom history have been Harambe? I bet they would have been super into that. They'd have been the edge of their seats. Another, so like I say, I always put in Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Knight Rider stuff for these two. For me,
This one's for
for
you.
me, it's
yeah.
always the Clan. No, I shouldn't say that. The Wu-Tang Clan. Maybe.
There you go. Yeah. Correct it.
Man posting as Wu-Tang Clan member sentenced to prison for scamming hotels out of $300,000. Wow.
If you were a hotel manager or desk clerk, would someone dropping the Wu-Tang name move you?
No.
Would you be like,
No.
oh yeah, well, let's just take care of you right away?
No.
I don't know if I want the Wu-Tang Clan in my hotel. I mean, they're older now, but in their younger days, they would have trashed it.
Is being a Wu-Tang Clan member like being a member of like the Kiss Army soldier? Because anybody could be that.
No. The Wu-Tang Clan is the thing.
Oh, okay.
Although it is very, there's a lot of them. There's a great story here. How long have we gone? 46 minutes. We can do a quick Wu-Tang
Yeah,
story.
do it quick.
So
Oh Lord.
Wu-Tang got to the point where they were making money just putting their name on other people. Like you could sort of join there's a core Wu-Tang Clan, and then there's like Method Man, who's in the Wu-Tang Clan, but he didn't start out. And I'm sure the chat will
It's
correct
like a
me.
YouTube or Twitch
Just-
like affiliation where like there's the main channel, but then
It's
there's
like-
all these other little tiny peripheral channels.
It's like K-pop.
Does Necklace Clock Guy fit in here somewhere?
No, that's Naughty by Nature.
Okay.
Yeah, you're way off. But anyway, so they were like getting more and more people, allowing more and more periphery people into the Wu-Tang Clan, and then one of them, I think he got on PCP, cut off his own genitals, and jumped out a window. And after that, a lot of jokes. Dave Chappelle had some great jokes about the guy with he's like the shears. He's like Wu-Tang, and so I think they stopped doing that after that. They were a little more controlled about the roster of the Wu-Tang Clan.
What about MC Hammer?
MC Hammer is totally his own thing from, I think, the San Francisco Bay Area, but it turns out that the Hammer was active in the Bay Area gangs.
Oh, okay.
And he is not to be trifled with. Like, even today, you don't want to get on the wrong side of the Hammer.
I'd believe it from his Robot Chicken work.
Well, it's cold in here. Do you think it's cold in here?
It is cold in here.
Yeah.
It's cold outside too.
I've been very cold for like the last 30 minutes or so. But, it was like 80 degrees in here this morning.
We're not advertising this week, right?
Huh?
Are we advertising this week?
No, there's no advertisements this week.
Nope.
Don't buy anything this week.
Store.level1text.com.
Level1text.
Or you can buy stuff from there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
All right, Krista,
Thank you all.
give us a Wu-Tang goodbye.
Woo! Goodbye. Wu-Tang.